Bragg.
Acting Deputy President, the government must assume that the Australian people are stupid, absolutely stupid, because when you have failed to get the houses built, as this government has done, when you have presided over a massive collapse in new houses, and you've seen the biggest surge in our population since the 1950s, and then you come along with this gimmick, the 5% deposit scheme, where you have 95% mortgages in that constrained environment, the Australian people are not stupid, and they know that the result of that is going to be higher prices. And what we're seeing now is the highest price growth at the entry-level point for first home buyers in living memory, all because Labor has failed on supply and they have now opened up this scheme to everyone. This was a scheme that was designed for lower income earners. Now it is a scheme that is open to any Australian of any means, including potentially the children of billionaires. And what you're seeing is people now using that scheme who don't need that support from the government, and that is now inflating prices. And as I say, the major problem with the government's housing policies is that it has failed to get houses built. It has failed. It inherited a housing system that was building 200,000 a year on average. It has crashed that down to 170,000 a year on average. And it has enlarged the population by the biggest margin since the 1950s. So it has been a massive failure on supply. And then you see the government's flagship scheme, the Housing Future Fund. It's got $10 billion. It's been going for 2 years. It's built no houses as far as we can find. But what it does have is a massive problem of governance, cohesion, and the money that it proposes to spend in the future is disgracefully overspending. The average cost to build a house in Australia is about $500,000. But the Housing Australia Future Fund proposes to spend up to $1.2, $1.3 million per house. Per house. What a disgraceful waste of taxpayer funds. Only the Labor Party could conceive of a scheme that doesn't build houses but proposes to build them in the future and overpay by 2 or 3 times as much as they should. And so now we see this home guarantee scheme come in, raise the prices, push first home ownership further away than it's ever been for many lower and middle income Australians. And you wonder why people are frustrated. You wonder why people are frustrated. And so we would say that if you want to have a government scheme like this, make it targeted, give it to lower income earners, people who really need government support. Don't debase a targeted scheme, particularly when you failed on supply. This is the main point. We can have a debate in this chamber about the nature of housing, but it is in some form a market of supply and demand. We can't escape that, whatever our political persuasions or views may be. It is a product of how many houses there are and how many people want to buy them. That is going to drive, in the main, a part of the pricing. And so when you have fewer houses per person than you need, and you have fewer houses by any historical analysis because of a larger population, and then when you open up a scheme, a free-for-all, you're going to have a problem. And so those entry-level prices now for Australians are going to be more out of reach than they ever were. So I'm not sure whether the government has a brain or not. It's a question for the government. But if the government has a brain and a heart, it would go back to the drawing board on its housing policies, because its Canberra-based bureaucracy has failed to build houses. Its 5% mortgage scheme is going to make it harder, not easier. And so we would urge the government to take stock. Look at what you've done over these last 3.5 years. You've been in government for a long time now. The problem is getting worse and worse, not better. And if all the Labor senators want to come in here and say how fantastic their 5% scheme is, then I would highly encourage them to go and listen to what people are finding in the marketplace. They're finding that they cannot buy an entry-level house because this scheme is going to make it harder, not easier. It is absolutely crazy, stupid and incompetent.